The year was 2011. Kim Jong-il, the enigmatic leader of North Korea, had passed away, leaving a void in the Hermit Kingdom. From the shadows emerged his son, Kim Jong-un, a young man barely in his 20s, thrust onto the world stage. Whispers of uncertainty and doubt swirled around the young heir. Could he command the respect of a nation forged in the fires of revolution and cloaked in secrecy? Kim Jong-un's early days were marked by pronouncements of continuity, pledges to uphold his father's legacy. He was the great successor, the chosen one to lead the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. His grip on power was solidified through carefully orchestrated public appearances, military parades showcasing the nation's might, and pronouncements that echoed the rhetoric of his predecessors. The world watched with bated breath, trying to decipher the enigma that was Kim Jong-un. One of his early moves was a strategic marriage to Ri Sol-ju, a young woman whose elegance and poise softened the edges of the Kim dynasty's austere image. The couple's appearances, often hand in hand, were a stark departure from the secluded lifestyle of Kim Jong-il. These carefully crafted moments were broadcast across state-controlled media, projecting an image of stability and warmth to the North Korean people. The transition of power, while seemingly smooth, was not without its challenges. Rumors of purges within the upper echelons of the North Korean government surfaced, hinting at a possible consolidation of power by the young leader. These whispers were difficult to verify, shrouded in the secrecy that has become synonymous with the North Korean regime. As the months of Kim Jong-un's rule turned into years, a subtle shift became noticeable. While maintaining the iron grip on power that characterized his family's reign, he began to introduce changes, subtle cracks in the facade of isolation that had defined North Korea for decades. This was not a dramatic overthrow of the old ways, but a carefully calibrated dance between tradition and a tentative embrace of modernity. One of the most striking examples of this shift was Kim Jong-un's apparent affinity for Western pop culture, a stark contrast to his father's rigid adherence to socialist realism. Basketball, particularly the NBA, seemed to hold a particular fascination for the young leader, a passion that he shared with the former Chicago Bulls star Dennis Rodman, who made several highly publicized visits to North Korea. This fascination with aspects of Western culture extended beyond sports. Kim Jong-un was often seen in public with his wife, Ri Sol-ju, a woman who, with her stylish attire and modern haircut, presented a stark contrast to the drab uniformity that characterized the wives of previous North Korean leaders. These images, carefully curated and disseminated through state media, hinted at a leader who was not afraid to embrace elements of the outside world. However, it was important to note that these changes were primarily cosmetic, a carefully managed public relations exercise designed to soften Kim Jong-un's image both domestically and on the world stage. The underlying reality of life in North Korea remained unchanged. The vast majority of the population continued to live in poverty, deprived of basic freedoms and subjected to a pervasive cult of personality that deified the Kim family. The year 2012 witnessed an event so unprecedented in North Korea's history that it sent ripples of astonishment across the globe. Kim Jong-un, in a move that defied all expectations, attended a concert by the Moranbong Band, an all-female group assembled at his behest. This was not, however, a typical display of North Korean military marches and patriotic anthems. The Moranbong Band's performance was infused with Western musical styles, a touch of Hollywood glamour, and even featured Disney characters. This audacious display of cultural openness left observers both inside and outside North Korea puzzled and intrigued. Was this a genuine attempt by Kim Jong-un to modernize his nation's cultural landscape, to bridge the chasm that separated North Korea from the rest of the world? Or was it a shrewd tactic, a carefully orchestrated distraction from the realities of life under his authoritarian rule? The presence of Ri Sol-ju, Kim Jong-un's wife, at the concert added another layer of intrigue to the event. Elegantly dressed in a Western-style outfit, she stood by her husband's side, a symbol of modernity and a stark contrast to the reclusive wives of previous North Korean leaders. This public display of affection, unprecedented in the annals of North Korean leadership, sent a clear message. Kim Jong-un was not his father. He was a new kind of leader for a new era. The Moranbong Band, with their catchy tunes, synchronized dance moves, and Western-inspired outfits, became an instant sensation in North Korea. They were young, they were talented, and they represented a break from the rigid conformity of the past. Whether their popularity would translate into lasting change remained to be seen, but their very existence was a testament to Kim Jong-un's willingness to experiment, to challenge the status quo, at least on the surface. Kim Jong-un's rise to power was accompanied by a carefully crafted public persona, one that drew heavily on the legacy of his grandfather, Kim Il-sung, the revered founder of North Korea. This calculated evocation of his grandfather's image was evident in both his appearance and his public pronouncements. Kim Jong-un adopted a hairstyle remarkably similar to his grandfather's, a style that became known as the Dear Leader haircut. This visual association with his grandfather extended beyond mere hairstyle. Kim Jong-un was often seen wearing a Mao suit, a sartorial choice favored by Kim Il-sung, further cementing the image of a leader following in his grandfather's footsteps. This calculated evocation of his grandfather's image was not limited to aesthetics. Kim Jong-un's public speeches were often peppered with references to his grandfather's achievements, his policies, and his vision for North Korea. This strategic alignment with his grandfather's legacy served a dual purpose. Firstly, it bolstered Kim Jong-un's legitimacy in the eyes of the North Korean people, many of whom still revered Kim Il-sung as the father of their nation. By associating himself with his grandfather's legacy, Kim Jong-un tapped into a wellspring of nostalgia and reverence, strengthening his grip on power. Secondly, it allowed Kim Jong-un to distance himself from the legacy of his father Kim Jong-il, whose rule, while marked by a strengthening of North Korea's military might, was also marred by economic hardship and famine. By aligning himself with the more prosperous and less controversial era of his grandfather, Kim Jong-un could present himself as a leader capable of ushering in a new era of prosperity and stability.